Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kellow, NMRA.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. Hope you all had a very, very, very Merry Christmas. And I hope you'll come back often, and I hope you'll tell your friends about us so they can join us. Before we start the show, I want to go to Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters?
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we recognize the beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and artistry you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen.
Father, thank you so much for everything that you do for our show. We certainly do appreciate it and hope you had a very, very Merry Christmas and are going to have a great New Year. Well, with that said, I'd like to go to the sponsor for our show, which is Brennan's Model Railroading. I think we have a video for Dennis Brennan.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wenky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis' spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Well, most of you, I think, by now have heard that we started a monthly newsletter called Observations, and Martin Breckbiel, NMRA, agreed to be the editor for it. So, Martin, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your newsletter?
Oh, goody. My most recent regret. Okay. The January one is just about done. We're 18 pages. I need a link. Actually, it'll be generated from this very show to finish that issue. So that'll go out to Jim and Jim, I guess. The twins, Jim and Jim. Yeah. Yep. And all that means is we start on February's issue. So I'll need submissions from people. You got something you want to write about? A paragraph, a photo you want to share, a few lines, some thoughts, whatever you got, send it on to me, and we'll put it in February probably that way. That's all I got, Jim.
Well, and all of you may know Martin being the editor of a previous magazine, an O-scale. But our newsletter covers everything, G-scale through M. So if you have something that you'd like to share with the rest of us, that's what the newsletter is all about. We're going to try to keep you up to date on what we're doing ourselves for the future, what our future shows will be including. And we'd like to hear from you about what you're doing and what you think we should be doing and anything else you'd like to write about. Just send it to Martin and he'll figure out what to do with it. Martin, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and the best for the new year for you. Now I'd like to turn to Chris Course, who is the host for the My Bill segments of our shows. And the next My Build is scheduled for January the 17th show, 3 weeks from tonight. And that's going to be kind of a special one. So if you've never entered the My Build series before, hope you'll consider doing it, because we're trying to expand this to eventually become a whole show of nothing but you and your models and what your tips are and what your ideas are and what you're working on. The shows are getting to be very, very popular. We're getting an awful lot of views of the My Build segments of our shows, and that's why we're going to expand them. So if you have something that you'd like to share with us, all you have to do is send it to Chris, and he'll get it included in the show. Phil, I don't know, Chris is not here this evening, but I don't know whether you have his.
I have his email. Yes, I'll put it in the chat.
And if you'll just send it to Chris, then he'll make sure that you've got all the information you need, and we'll get you in the January show. Again, it's January the 17th, 3 weeks from tonight. So you've got plenty of time. There's no rush. But I do hope that you'll enter something in the My Build, because we do want to try to expand it to eventually become the whole show for once a month. Now, with that said, I want to start the show with the video from Alan Rogers' company that covers G-scale for us. We recently started a separate segment on each scale, and this one is for G-scale. So Phil, if we could run.
Welcome to New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings, located in Bakersfield, California, 1 hour from the famed Tehachapi Loop. As part of building his model railroad layout, Alan Rogers took photos and made scale drawings of a number of buildings in the Southwest, many of which no longer exist. New Creations Victorian Railroad Buildings has turned these photos and drawings into kits with laser-cut wood, 3D printed components and detailed instructions. We produce kits in HO, O, S, N and G scales. Our O scale kits are compatible with Holiday Village dioramas. You can see our products at train shows or use the QR code to visit our website. We hope you will try our unique kits. They are easy and fun to build, even for beginners. You will enjoy the finished models for many years to come.
Well, Steve Benninger is the host for the G-scale segment, but because of the holidays, I'm sorry to say Steve can't join us this evening, so we're not going to be able to include him. So I apologize for that, but we will get him as soon as he's back from his over the holiday vacation. One thing that I forgot early in the show, and Phil, if you've got the slide that I sent you, one of the friends that we have on the show, Pat Rivard, sent me this shirt for my Christmas present with New Tracks modeling embroidered on it. And Pat, I can't thank you enough. I think it is a fantastic shirt, and I so appreciate you going to the trouble of having them made up and sending me one. I really do appreciate it, and it was one of the best Christmas presents I've ever gotten. Thank you so very much, Pat.
Thank you.
Now I want to turn to Jeff Jordan, who is kit bashing a station to make it a prototype, to make it appear a prototype of a station that he wanted to build. Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Jim.
Yes, sir.
You pick up on our last segment here on finishing up the station. There we go. So picking up from where we were last week, you can see the completed roof in this photo, but principally what I'm looking at here is the kit came with a nice prescribed planking material for the platform. I had to slightly reformat it to make it fit the altered station footprint. And here I'm just gluing it in place using my favorite wheel weights to hold it down as it dries. There's the finished platform. It's stained with Hunter line stain, And I think the wood looks really terrific with that hunter line stain. Down in front there is the start of roof rafters. Studying the photograph of the prototype station, the long overhang side, the platform side, shows exposed roof rafters all the way in the length of the roof. And so I decided the kit did not come with this to use strip wood to fabricate my own roof rafters. So there I've started to cut long roof rafters and short roof rafters to go in front of the bay window. Here's the installation. The building standing on its head, and the roof rafters glued in place one at a time. And then also you can see on either side of the freight door and down in the corner there, I've also added a vertical post and a diagonal roof support, again, based upon the prototype photograph and using the same strip wood that I used for the brackets that appear on the end of the building. And then there's a few more roof rafters waiting to be installed. So there's the finished result. The surprise when I was finished is there are all these roof rafters in there and you can hardly see them, especially when people tend to look down from the top. They pretty much disappear, but I know they're there. The roof brackets and the same size as the end trim fit in very nicely. Here's the finished snow guard, which I showed you fabricating it last week, and then it's just glued in place, a little bit of super glue along the edge of the roof. And then referring back to the prototype photograph, there are a number of details in the photograph that I wanted to pick up in this model as well. One of them is in the end of the station, you can see a lot of baskets. They're apparently apple baskets. The northern Shenandoah Valley is famous for growing apples. Unfortunately, absolutely nobody makes a model of apple baskets. I searched all over, found nothing, but I found these barrel castings on eBay, and I thought they made a good substitute and stained them a light color to resemble the apple baskets. And also matching the photograph, there was a hand cart, and Berkshire Models makes a nice cast hand cart. So all I had to do was literally, it's such a clean casting. It required virtually no cleanup, a little bit of paint, and stuck it in the same location as it appears in the prototype photo. Here's the other end of the station, and you can see I've finished out the same trim as on the south end of the station and the station sign, but the star of this photograph, of course, is the baggage cart, which again, if you study that photograph in the background, you'll see that there is indeed a baggage cart on the platform. Again, Berkshire Models came to the rescue with a nice laser cut wood baggage cart, literally just cleaned it up, painted it in REA colors. But the one thing that it was missing is the little REA diamonds. And so I decided to provide those by searching online to find the appropriate REA diamond, printed it out in color and put a little backing, and then just super glued it on each end of the REA cart. Also, just to the right of the REA cart, you can see there's a sign. That's a Western Union Telegraph sign. In the photograph, again, it's clear that there is a sign in that location, but it's not clear in the prototype photo what it says. But I think it's highly likely these little branch line depots usually were a Western Union office, and the station agent frequently doubled as a Western Union agent, of course, having a telegraph set. So I thought it was a logical conclusion that it was a Western Union sign. And so, again, searching online, found the appropriate blue and white Western Union sign, printed out 2 of them, and then glued it on either side of a little bit of styrene, in this case, to provide a firm backing, and attached it to the trim there. So that is almost all done. So the station with its prototype side by side, and I also pulled the water tank off of my layout and stuck it in the background to further show the similarity. You can see the baggage cart, you can see the baskets, you can see the hand truck. I think the model, which again is just a modification of a commercially available kit, really captured the spirit of the Middletown station in that photograph in 1915. I'm currently in the process of rounding up enough O-scale figures of appropriate period so I can have some folks on the platform. But it doesn't quite end there. As you can see in the photograph on the right, that's just a piece of HO track laid in front for the effect. And my friends at the club said, the station came out so well, it needs a track in front of it. And they gave me a piece of Gargrave's O-scale track, which I tried, but I wasn't really satisfied with it. And it looked too big and it looked too tall. And I took out a scale ruler and learned that Gargrave's track is the rails are way too tall. The gauge is closer to 5 feet than 4 foot 8.5 inches. It just let down the rest of the station, even though I had ballasted it in place. I was disappointed with it and I chipped it back out and did this. That is Proto 148 track, hand laid. The ties are from appropriate size balsa wood. I used balsa wood because when you dunked it in the Hunter Line tie brown stain, you got that terrific texture that I didn't have to do anything to texture that wood, just stain it, and the texture of the balsa wood gave you that terrific grainy and mottled look. Really looks like railroad ties to my eye. But then moving on, it needed tie plates. The tie plates are little bits of evergreen styrene, each one cut out, painted rust color, and then glued in place at the appropriate track gauge. And then I found out that you can't just drive spikes through the evergreen styrene, it'll pinch. So I had to go back with a drill and hand drill all of the spike holes one at a time as I laid the rail. There are 19 ties there. So there's something like 78 holes had to be drilled, get the spikes in, and then touched that up, a little bit of rust colored paint. But I think it really paid a dividend that the station came out so nicely, and now it has some really nice looking track to go in front of it. The ballast is Woodland Scenics. And so there's the entire module now with a base and the track in front of it, and at least a couple of guys there waiting for the train. So that concludes this presentation. I had a great good time building this station. I told my friends in the club it was a good thing I didn't have room for it on my layout, or otherwise I would have just kept it. I'm so happy with the way it came out.
You ought to really be proud of it, Jeff. It's just a gorgeous model. It really is. Now, when you present this to the mayor and he shakes your hand, make sure that you get the appropriate pictures, because I want you to come back and show us the pictures with you in his honor.
Yep, the club will definitely be doing some publicity photos, and so I'll be glad to do that. And we're hoping that the mayor's ultimate plan is, though he's going to show it off in his office as he talks up the remaining fundraising for the station, that ultimately the finished station building will include one room that is a museum and will include railroad artifacts. And I think the plan is that ultimately this model and a framed copy of the prototype photo will go in the museum.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations and a beautiful job.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Hey, Jeff, this is Bob Geldmacher. What state is this in? Is this in Maryland?
This is in Virginia. This is Middletown, Virginia, which is in the north end of the Shenandoah Valley, between Winchester and Strasburg. And the historic Baltimore and Ohio Shenandoah Valley branch ran straight south through the Shenandoah Valley, and one of the stops once upon a time was Middletown. Today, CSX still runs on that track, but the station is long gone.
Mm-hmm. Nice job.
Thank you.
Jeff, I've got a question for you. Did you use any glue at all on the rail to get hold it down?
Yes. To just get things started, I tacked it in both ends and the middle with some super glue,
Okay.
and then got that and then worked the rest of the way using a straight edge as I spiked one rail, and I got one rail completely spiked down. And then I created my own little rail gauge to align the second track, and would just slot the rail gauge in, press the rail against the rail gauge, and spike the outside of the second rail. It took, I don't want to tell you how long it took me to create 1 foot of hand spiked track.
I think your use of balsa wood is very unusual. I've never heard anybody talk about doing that. I'm going to try that. Thank you so much.
Again, it's because usually people don't want to use balsa wood because it's got a rough surface. And just in this case, it's stained so well. And the rough surface, to me, looks just like railroad ties. And so it's, not a typical building material for me, but in this case, it was the right one.
Yeah, I got to try that. That's great, particularly on a diorama. I can see that would be a real alternative. So thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well, now I want to turn to Mr. Bob Geldmacher, who is going to talk to us this evening about maybe a strange subject for some people. I'm very interested in it because I really believe that we're looking at a real monumental, maybe too strong a word, but I'll use it, change in how we are in our model railroading. And I think it's going to come from AI. So Bob, I'm really looking forward to your presentation.
Okay, this is going to be a relatively short presentation. And I'll say up front that I used AI to generate the information that I'm going to present. So I can't sit here and try to debate a lot of the issues with you. If you want to debate, I'll give you the address of the computer and you can talk to the computer about that. But as it turns out, my daughter, Janice, works for a major AI player here in the greater Washington area. And I asked her about this. So she also helped to generate this information. And I'll say up front, one of the biggest issues that she says that they face with AI, and I think it's AI across the board, is the trust factor. Most of us don't have a problem with AI in terms of if it crashes one of our trains or does something like that, it's not the end of the world. However, if it were to start a nuclear war, that's an entirely different issue. And it's something that a lot of people are concerned about is, can you put AI in place and then trust it to basically run things? So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully all will go well. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I put the question mark there is because I have a feeling that this is such a new territory for us, especially from the model railroading standpoint, that we all have different conceptions of what AI is all about. I know when I first started down this path, one of the things that I thought about was watching the movie War Games, where the young guy goes in and actually accesses a military computer that does a lot of simulations and starts down the path of basically nuclear conflagration with the entire world. And the best thing that comes out of that movie is the last line where, the best move is maybe, the first move is maybe no move at all. So the question is going to remain when we talk about this stuff is whether or not we want to get actively involved with AI and whether or not we, and I'm looking around at the screen, almost all of us are of an older generation, are going to actively embrace AI if we find out that AI will really work for us. As it turns out, in our world today, AI is very prevalent. And here's a list of different areas that AI has already been used in. A lot of the major search engines that are out there, like Facebook and Alexa, Siri, they're all using AI. Matter of fact, I know really well that that Alexa is tuned into AI because it has kind of focused in on the fact that I use a lot of resin printing, or a lot of resin for my printing.
Amazon Alexis. You can access Alexa speakers for free from any Alexa enabled device.
And if you have an Alexa sitting close by to you, as soon as you say her name, she comes on. But anyway, I'm going to say it quietly. Alexa knows that I use a lot of resin when I do my 3D printing, and she's also starting to focus in on how often I buy resin. So periodically, I get a little message saying it's time to buy more resin, or it's time to buy more filament. And if you're trying to keep something like that secret from your wife, she doesn't allow you to do that really well. But they also, a lot of the other search engines that are out there, and you can see a list of them are here. And really, if you start defining what artificial intelligence it's all about, it's really the intelligence of machines versus the intelligence of humans. And the fact that machines can learn. And that's the whole trick, is that if we could build machines with appropriate software and the appropriate sensors, and we'll talk a little bit about the sensors in a little bit, where the machine could actually pick up on things that are happening around it and then learn and become more intuitive and more educated, that's where AI is going to take us. So the question is, what is the potential for AI in our model railroading? And again, I went to the source, and so did my daughter went to the source for ChatGPT. So I don't know whether this is like letting the fox in the hen house or not, because AI is telling us how good AI can be, and whether or not we're going to believe that remains to be seen. And these are some of the things that it said that it could do. Doing advanced automated control systems. This would be particularly good on mainline routes, and also when we have yards where we want to be able to do switching through those yards. One thing I'll point out is in the majority of the things, and I have about 11 points that I'm going to go across quickly, is in the majority of these issues, I found that we already can do these things. For instance, in the automated control systems, and we've had Kevin Hunter on the show a couple of times, and Kevin has designed circuits that basically do all that routing automatically for you. So you can already do a lot of it, and I think AI could probably enhance that. Preventative maintenance and predictive maintenance. And to me right now, of all the things on the list, this is one of the things that I think might be the most beneficial, is that if there could be a system that would somehow monitor our layouts, monitor our rolling stock, monitor our engines, and be able to come back and tell us this is the time where that maintenance should be done on those particular pieces. I think that would be very beneficial, because I know in a lot of my ON30 stuff, sometimes it sits for years before I actually put any oil on it. So it might be good to get a little bit of a nudge like that, where it would help us out with that. Realistic behavior simulations, where if it could monitor the way things act in real life, they could then come back and say, let me apply that to your layout. So whether it would be the control of our switches, whether it would be speed control, that would be all done automatically, and we would not have to have a lot to do with it. Voice and gesture controls, to be able to articulate what we want the layout to do without actually having to touch anything. For instance, on my layout, I have Alexa set up so that I can go in and say, Alexa, trains on. And just the fact that I said that, the Alexa that's right next to me just turned my layout on. And for folks that are not initiated in model railroading, when they come down and I do that and everything lights up, that's really a wow factor. Again, already doing that, but even could be enhanced with AI. Layout design optimization. If we could put into a program the parameters of the space that we have, the type of design that we were looking for, and other constraints, then AI could go out and find out what others have done similar to that, and then come back and give us a design that might meet our needs. To do realistic scenery generation. Again, to go out and for AI to look across the spectrum of possible scenes in areas that we are interested in, and then come back and tell us exactly what it is we ought to be doing to make that scene better, and the types of materials that we would need in order to build that scenery. Object and image recognition. On the layout, if the AI could take and notice buildings or notice things that are on the track or track side, and then control the way our trains are running, based on the things that it is seeing that again might result in realistic operation. Adaptive speed controls. We all have, I'm sure except for Jim, I think he said he doesn't have DCC, but a lot of times in DCC, you can actually control momentum and things like that, but AI could step in and do that for us. Simulation and testing, and I think that's pretty important too, is that it's nice to know that the layouts that we put together and the layouts that we're building are actually going to work the way we want them to work. And to be able to do that through software, and I know a lot of software is out there to do it automatically, but have AI to be able to take a look at what we're doing and take a look to tell us whether or not it's right or wrong and things that we could do to make it better would be very beneficial. Custom model creation. I know we just watched what Jeff was doing with his modeling, and to put the parameters into a program that could spell out exactly the materials that we would need and how to optimize a particular building that we're trying to build. And interactive storytelling. I have a friend down on the Eastern Shore that has created an entire world around his layout. And he's got stories for every one of his buildings. He's got stories for almost every person that he's got on the layout. But if we could put in even the basic parameters and then have AI create a story for us, which could be pages long, might be another wow factor for people that are coming in, not only for us model railroaders, but also just, the general public. So here's a list of some of the things that AI and machine learning thinks it could do for us from a model railroading standpoint. But the question is, do we really want it to do that? What it's going to take to get there, number one, is, of course, we're going to need computers and hardware that's going to be able to interpret all this information that we're putting into it, or interpret all the information that AI is pulling into itself from its environment and its surroundings, and being able to generate that story or be able to generate that maintenance list that we were talking about. It's going to take software, and that software has to be generated in order to be able to learn in its environment. And then sensors, because the system has to be able to sense what it's doing, where it is, and how it's doing it, and for it to interpret all that, and then again to create the environment that we're looking for. And I think for a lot of us, it's going to take a lot of imagination. I personally am not 100% sold on AI yet. And I have a feeling that our generation of model railroaders, it might be a little tougher to make that leap of faith in order to allow AI to run it. Where I think for the younger generations, like Ethan, the young fellow that won the scholarship this year, it might be easier for those guys to relate to the AI environment, to be able to utilize that environment and to best achieve the results that they're looking for. AI came back with this, and it says these apps demonstrate the potential of AI and machine learning to not only improve the efficiency and the reliability in our hobby, but also to significantly enhance the equipment and immersion of the hobby by adding new dynamic and interactive elements. I had this discussion with my daughter after she generated the list for us, and there's another element that AI hasn't even touched on, and that's the joy of being in the hobby and the joy that we get out of making things and creating things. I don't know how much AI will impact that. I don't know how AI would basically take that creativity maybe out of our hands. But I enjoy that part of the hobby more than anything. So that's the reason why I'm kind of lukewarm about AI right now. And the bottom line is we're just going to have to wait and see. Whether AI will be completely embraced, fully embraced by our generation of modelers, I don't know. But down the road, I think it might have a significant role in the way the hobby rolls out. And again, we're going to have to wait and see just how that goes. So that's all I have to say right now. I wanted mainly to introduce it to everybody so that they would start to think about it, maybe start to formulate some ideas, maybe do a little more research. But the ChatGPT really goes out there and, can fill in the gaps for us. So I'll answer any questions that anybody has right now, but we'll see where it takes us.
Anybody have any questions for Bob? Well, let me throw this out to you, Bob, and maybe you can ask your daughter. I don't know whether you can answer it or not. But if I told you that I think in 3 to 5 years, I can walk in a room and say, machine, produce me a car that looks like this, that is in this scale, and blah, blah, blah. And AI can do it. They'll draw it up. They'll send it to my printer. My printer will do it in a rosin. And in a few hours, I can walk over to the printer and pull out that finished car, maybe paint it, maybe put some wheels and couplers on it and put it on the track.
I think that possible. I think we could probably go now to AI and ask it to generate the drawing. I think we'd have to do a little bit of work in order to get it over to the printer and make sure that the printer doesn't crash on us. But I think all of that's possible, Jim, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
And if we get to that point, to me, that is going to impact the creativity of modeling. And it is going to definitely impact the modeling and the use of our hands in modeling, if nothing more than that. So I may be crazy, but I think it's going to depend on how fast this occurs. It's going to primarily depend on how many younger people we get involved in model railroading.
I agree with that.
I think they're going to drive this. I don't think that people my age are going to drive this. I think it's going to be the younger modelers. And I think that AI could be the way to entice younger modelers into our hobby.
Yeah, I agree. And I really think that, you know, the softer side of the hobby, the software, the people that are playing with the 3D printers, people that are doing work with Arduinos, that's where we're going to see a lot of the young people be enticed into the hobby. I really do.
Bob, I can't thank you enough for doing this for us tonight, and look forward to the next time that you're here to talk about another subject. But thank you so very much for doing this.
Yep, we're going to talk about, I was telling Jim earlier, we're going to do 3D printing in 2 parts. The first part is going to be not the theory of 3D printing, but a little bit of background about how it came to be and some of the equipment that's sitting out there. And then the second show, which will be a couple weeks down the road, I'm going to show a lot of the more practical applications of 3D printing and what I've been able to do. But I also invite, I know I talked with Earl and Phil mentioned it too. Anybody that's got any 3D printing pieces that they've made for our model railroading or anything in general, you know, let's bring that in. Matter of fact, that might be a good thing to talk about on the my build on the 17th.
I would agree. I think that kind of thing is exactly what I'm hoping the My Build is going to be, combined with the new products that the small manufacturers are coming out with. I think that would be an opportunity for them to show off their new models.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Bob. We're really looking forward to it. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and hope you have a great New Year.
I was sick the entire time, believe it or not.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm glad you got well enough to be here tonight.
Today's kind of the first day that I'm out of bed for a week and a half. So
Jeez. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, now I want to turn to Martin Breckbiel, NMR, for his Scratchbuilding corner. Martin, welcome.
Evening, Jim. Again.
Evening.
I'm back again. So I've been doing this 12 weeks. Good grief. Okay. So last week we made a wall with some doors and 3 walls for an office. It's kind of an odd combination of things to build a structure. We need more than that, I think. So we'll see where those parts take us now, if anywhere. I mean, I'm only going to have 12 slides. It can't take us too far. So, well, it takes us to 2 more walls. Okay, we needed more walls. You can always use more walls, right? Okay, so these have a sloped top. So these are the side walls of something, front to back. So the rain falls off the back probably. We have an opening here that matches the 4th wall of that office structure we had. It was only 3 walls. So apparently it's not going to get a 4th wall. It's going to get an opening into another room. or some such. This is being what it was, kind of narrow. We'll go back, you can see this clapboard bit on the narrow side and a bit thin up here. So this is one of those cases where I put some 30-second or something close to that, a 30-second piece of reinforcing behind it to keep it from breaking, because that's exactly where it's going to break if you're not careful. And even if you are careful, it'll probably break right where you don't want it to. And you can glue it back together, but it's just annoying. So it's better to just to preempt it and glue some reinforcing on it and trim it to shape and not worry about it. Keep moving. Well, there we go. We got the office 3 doors. Got some 3 walls here. There's some 3/32 square here in the back. It all binds together and it gets married up to this 4th wall. And we need another wall because we still don't have enough walls. I think we just barely have enough walls now. So this is, I'm going to declare this to be the back wall, being the final wall. And it's been opened up for 4 of those sideways opening doors, windows that I had that I have no reason to have. So this is a good way to make them go away. Put them in a wall that I don't know where it's going to go in the building yet. So again, some more 3/32 square stock on the ends for your corners, all glued up. That's those 3/32 pieces are on there with a little bit of goo and some CA. Working on glass, that's not a problem. Even if I glue it to the glass, it's just slide a scalpel blade under it, it pops right off the glass. And those are just, the windows are just test fitted there. It's not good to put windows in early, because if you want to glaze them and everything, it's a pain in the rump to do it later. It can be done. It's a lot of pain and suffering, but I don't recommend it. It's much easier to just test fit them, drop them back off, and keep going. You can take care of them later. Paint them a different color, glaze them, what have you. Okay. Well, we've got all these walls. Might as well start putting some more of them together so I can figure out what the heck I'm building. And that's what it looks like when you put them all together. So we have the front with the way those 4 doors go in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4 doors. The 4 windows in the back. A little office over here with a door, window here, another window on this side, nothing on this wall. Okay, so bunch of 3/16" balsa around the top and around the bottom, just for gluing to stuff later. It's easier to put it in now as opposed to later. I have to have something for the roof to stick to. The edge gluing things is not necessarily reliable entirely. And another view from the other side, you can see it better. And yeah, I got a bundle of this 3/16 balsa for no good reason. Honestly, probably just a mistake on my part, but the best way to make it go away is to put it to work on the inside of buildings and use it for framing and reinforcing and glue surfaces. It's nice stuff to work with. Cuts very, very neatly with a razor saw. You don't have any problems with that. And of course, glues practically instantly with carpenter's glue. And the back side, rather boring wall over here. There's nothing on it. So, you know, there has to be at least one wall with nothing on it. That's where you put the signs when you need a signage, cute signage on your railroad buildings. You need a blank wall. And again, another view from the other end, and another empty wall at the far end. But I don't know if you can see it very easily. Now, this office is not sitting on the same plane as the rest of the building. It's actually up in the air. This blue cloth it's sitting on is folded up a little bit, but it's actually up in the air a bit, and it needs a little bit of a foundation. So these, I don't remember what they're called. I think Dr. Ben's building blocks were once upon a time is what they were called. But when I bought them, there was a guy at Timonium selling them by the 1 pound bag at the Timonium show. So I bought several pounds of them. I think it's just linoleum tiles chopped up and broken up. But with my luck, it's probably asbestos tile. So, you know, these things happen. You can probably find something comparable out there that's not asbestos. At this point in my existence and the exposure to toxic and nasty things, asbestos is probably the least of my worries. So these just get glued on here with a CA, medium CA. You just work your way around. And if you get one that's a little too long and you need to snip it, a pair of nippers, cut some, butter. It's not a problem. You just stagger them on here. They have a nice rough edge, so it actually looks like a decent copy of stone. We're going to stop there. I'll leave you hanging until next year, which I think is next week, actually. So that's as far as we're going this time.
Oh, Martin, thank you so very much, sir. That looks gorgeous. Anybody got any questions for Martin? You're getting off easy tonight, Martin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't jump in all at once, guys.
You have a
Martin,
hope you
I
had
have
a
a question.
Well,
Okay.
there we go. I've taunted him enough.
Those bricks or whatever you call them, stones that you're putting on, are you
Yeah.
only putting them in a certain area of that base or just all of it?
No,
whole
just
base.
just that office section.
Okay,
The rest is going to be sitting on dirt
whatever.
or whatever. Yeah, on whatever that stuff. That's the stuff. Whatever.
Thanks, Martin.
Sure.
Anybody else got any questions for Martin? Martin, thanks very much. Hope you had a great Christmas and a great New Year's coming up.
Well, we'll work on it.
Yes, sir. Thanks again for doing the newsletter for us. Well, now we're going to do a wrap up of our great scholarship program. I couldn't tell you how proud I am of the people that have made this possible for us. And the person that's going to tell you all about it is the chairman of the committee that has made this all possible for us, Bob Davidson. And let me mention before Bob starts, his committee members are Phil Edholm, who is secretary, Tom Farrell, who is our treasurer. Bob is the vice president, I'm the president, and Jeff Jordan is the attorney for us. So that's how we started. Then the committee expanded to include Martin Breckbiel, MMR, David Schultz, and Jamie Bothwell. So that's our committee. And that committee, excluding me, but those people really deserve all your credit in the world for getting our scholarship to the point that it is today. This for sure is not Jim Kellow's scholarship. That has nothing to do with it. This is a joint effort of a bunch of volunteers that came together, that saw a need to help the young model railroaders of today become the old model railroaders with a great education tomorrow. And Bob, thank you so much for leading the way for us.
Well, thank you, Jim. You're a good act to follow, and you've inspired us all. So let me share my desktop here, and we're going to do. So as Jim said, we're going to do kind of just a brief year in review, and soon in the future we'll be doing a forward-looking presentation for you to let you know what's coming up in 2024. Hopefully we'll be doing that next Wednesday. So as Jim said, I'm going to go back a little more than a year. November of 2022, I was kind of brought into discussions regarding organizing a scholarship. And at first we established a committee with the folks that Jim mentioned, as well as Kevin McCumber, who was on the committee at that time. And that was back in November of 2022. By that December, Bill had worked on and drawn up the criteria for the scholarship, and we had all discussed and approved that. And Phil took the time and developed an application for it, both online and written, that folks could submit. And at around that same time, we decided to pursue getting our 501c3 nonprofit designation, which we thought would be real helpful in terms of just organizing the scholarship as an entity, as well as encourage folks to donate to it. Jeff Jordan's firm, Aaron Fox Schiff, agreed to handle all of the work on this pro bono. So that was a huge shot in the arm to the work that we were trying to do. And Jeff, we can't thank you and your firm enough for all the time that you guys put into helping us out. The draft articles of incorporation and bylaws were drawn up. We decided that the new corporation would be called New Tracks Mentoring, Inc. And it was decided that we would award a $1,000 scholarship for the 23-24 academic year, the year we're in now. And that scholarship was funded by donations to New Tracks Modeling. This is before we actually had the nonprofit set up. So thanks to all those. I know we recognized you last year, and you have our deepest appreciation for getting this whole thing started. In January of 23, we had the first use. We had developed some scholarship banners, and the first banner went out to the Amherst Train Show. And it was such a success that we had banners last year at about 25 shows from coast to coast. California to New York, down south into Georgia, up north into Minnesota. We really worked hard to get the name out and to let people know about this scholarship program. As Jim had said, with the exception of Walters, right now we're kind of the only national scholarship for young model railroaders that's out there. There are some groups that sponsor their own scholarships, but we look from coast to coast and both east, west, and north and south to get our next generation of modelers involved. In January, New Tracks Mentoring was established as a Florida corporation. We were able to get that paperwork through, and as you'll see here shortly, in record time. In February, we filed for our 501c3, and we did that on February 7th. I put the exact date in there because those of you who may be in organizations that have tried to get a 501c3 nonprofit, well, you know that you could bang your head against the wall for a long time, but not in our case. Again, thanks to Jeff, we received our designation a week later from the IRS. February 14th, we were approved as a 501c3. That's absolutely unheard of. So we kind of knew that we were doing some good work then, and somebody was looking down on us. In March of 23, we were approved as a Florida charitable organization. We filed with the Florida Secretary of State. And if you look at all of our fundraising materials, they note the fact that we are a Florida corporation that's been recognized, and we'll be filing with them reports so that you'll be able to go up and see the work that we've been doing. By April of 23, we had received 5 scholarship applications already online. Again, from across the country. So we really didn't know what to expect that first year. We were quite pleased with getting 5 in the first few months. In May of 23, we adopted the Zephy platform to handle our online donations. And we keep stressing that Zephy does not charge any fees to the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship. They are themselves a nonprofit that are supported by corporations, and they help small nonprofits such as us have a portal to raise money without paying the 3.5 or sometimes higher credit card fees and transfer fees and things like that. So, as we always say, 100% of any donation you make actually goes to the scholarship fund. It does not go to a handling company. By June, we had received a total of 7 scholarship applications. Again, far I wouldn't say far exceeding our expectation, but we were very pleased with what had come in. When the applications closed on July 1st, the committee met and we decided on the scholarship recipient, who you all know is Ethan Bernstein, who is currently a junior at Johns Hopkins University, an incredibly talented modeler and very committed not just to his modeling, but to the hobby itself. There is a program up on the YouTube channel you can watch, and Ethan's just a really nice young man and very involved with the NMRA and just a good soul. And we were so proud to have him be our inaugural recipient. September, we were busy. We set a goal of awarding at least 4,000 scholarships for 2024-25 academic year. And also in September, on the 20th, we announced that an anonymous donor would match up to $1,000 in contributions, small contributions. And as you'll hear shortly, and as I talked about last week, it's no secret, we passed that challenge with flying colors. And we cannot thank that anonymous donor enough. Just through this one program, we will be able to award a scholarship this coming year. Also, as Jim mentioned, in September, Martin, Jamie, and David joined the committee, and we're currently working them into the operations, and they'll be busy in the coming year. In December, just this month, Tom Farrell joined our committee as the corporate treasurer. The challenge grant goal was reached, as we said, so there's our $2,000, first $2,000 scholarship. And thanks to your generous donations, I will announce tonight, we'll be awarding at least $4,000 in scholarships. And as you'll hear shortly, we are confident that we'll be able to add an additional $2,000 scholarship for a total of $6,000 in scholarships in what really is the first year of the nonprofit operation, which is just phenomenal, just phenomenal. So a big shout out to our donors, and this is as of today. We started a brass level corporate donation program. We have 3 levels actually, but we were lucky enough to get 4 companies to join us at a $250 level, and these are all up on the website. Brennan's, Model Railroading, New Creations, Victorian Railroad Buildings, the Great Scale Model Train Show down at Timonium, and the Model Railroad Resource. Dan and Amy, thank you all so much. And then the individual donors, and these are donors who have, given anywhere from $7, $5 up to hundreds of dollars. And this couldn't have happened without these donors. So thank you all, really, from the bottom of our hearts. This is definitely a noble quest that we're on here. So one of the things that we ask is you'll continue to support the scholarship fund, and your support is going to help fund scholarships for the coming years. And again, next week we'll be laying out some plans for the next year of scholarship awards, 25-26, and we'll be reporting on that. But in the meantime, what's next? Well, we need your help. We need your help to solicit applications. We've raised the money. Now we need to have the kids who are going to be the recipients make application for those scholarships. So please go to your clubs. If you know a neighbor who's a modeler, has a kid, anybody that you know who might be able to help us out, please direct them to the website, newtracksmodeling.com/scholarship. The application will be going live next week on the 1st, and we would love to be inundated with applications. That would be our dream. So please help spread the word. It will mean a lot to these kids. It means a lot to us, and most importantly, it means a lot to our hobby. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing and come back to, I'd like to throw it back to Jim Kellow, who's going to introduce a special guest we have tonight and make a really special announcement. So Jim, back to you.
Well, Bob, I can't thank you and the committee enough for all the hard work and everything else that you all have put in past year to get us to the point that we are today. It wasn't long ago, and it's not in the slides that you prepared, but a while back, Phil Edholm and I were talking, and I said, Phil, we need to find a way to fund New Tracks, because up to this point, I had been writing all of the checks for it. And I thought, you know, we need a consistent funding source so that you know, whoever takes it over after me can continue and know that they don't have to be responsible financially for all the out-of-pocket costs. There weren't any personnel costs or anything like that because nobody gets paid. All of us are volunteers, but we had regular costs. We had filing fees with the state of Florida. We had the cost of the YouTube. We had the cost of the website. Those kind of costs we had to cover. So Phil said, well, okay, we'll start a Patreon account. So we did. That's the first time that we tried to raise any money, and we had a couple of people donate $5 here, $10 there, and so forth. And Phil then called me up and he said, what are we going to do with the extra money, assuming that we cover these out-of-pocket costs and we're not paying ourselves anything? So what are we going to do with the extra money? Well, I had been so impressed with Walter's company offering the first scholarships to model railroaders that I know of any company has ever offered in our hub. And I had written about them. I had called their director of marketing the day after I first heard about it and offered to support them and to promote them best we could. I used to talk about them on our shows all the time. And I thought, well, you know, if Walters can do it, of course, they have a funding source, so they're not asking for any donations. But why can't the model railroad hobby have its own model railroad scholarship program for the youth that are coming along that are going to be the future of our hobby once us old guys are not around anymore? And that seemed to be logical to me and logical to Phil. So that was the start of the idea we were going to do a scholarship if we got more than the money to cover for the money we needed to pay the out-of-pocket cost for New Tracks to just exist on the YouTube. Well, we asked for donations, and we started getting donations. And we covered probably in the first month or so sufficient donations from Patreon to cover the out-of-pocket costs for YouTube, and we started getting money for the scholarship. And so then people started saying, well, you know, that's all well and good, but how much are you going to offer in a scholarship? And we didn't know how much money we could raise, and we didn't want to overpromise and tell kids we were going to do more than we thought we could. That's how we settled on the $1,000 for the first year. How'd we settle on the amounts that we're going to do this year? Again, it was kind of, we thought we could do it. We thought we were being realistic. We were so pleased with the responses that we were getting from the average modeler that we set us goal and we achieved it. And then came along a fantastic organization that's part of the NMRA, that is the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA, whose president is with us tonight, Frank Makovich, MMR. Frank, welcome, and thank you so much for wanting to be a part of our scholarship program.
I saw you unmuted me and I almost hit mute.
Don't worry about it. It happens to me all the time.
So yeah, our Phil came to us with a proposal, Phil at home, and I think it took us 2 meetings to get approval because there were a lot of questions, but the board voted to write a check for $2,000, and I guess we're the first NMRA group to do that.
Not only the first NMR, Frank, you are the first group that has done this. And I can't thank you, your board, and your members enough for having the faith and wanting to support the scholarship for the young kids. I truly believe, Frank, that this is one way that we can help attract young people and keep young people interested in modeling and model railroading. And I can't thank you enough for believing that with us.
Well, you probably don't know it, but the average age in the NMRA is over 70 now.
Right.
Age. And I'm a little over that average. And if we don't attract new modelers, we won't have a hobby. But it's not just model railroading. It's a lot of the hobbies that we all grew up with. Doll collecting for the women.
Yep.
And some hobbies have changed a lot. In model railroading, what I've seen a big change is towards operations, and the young people are more interested in operations. And I'm a model builder. I'm sort of old school. If the wheels move, that's enough operations for me.
Right. That's why I still run DC. I'm not an operator either.
Yeah. I'm going to be totally dead rail at some point because I hate track and I can't crawl underneath anymore, which I'm sure I'm not the only one on this call that's in that position. So we're happy to support your organization and the scholarship and look forward to seeing the applicants that you come up with.
Well, we hope that you'll help us get the applicants. I mean, you have an involvement certainly in the California State Museum and the NMRA's display there. We'd hope that maybe the museum would allow us maybe to put one of our banners there so people going to the exhibit could see that the scholarship is available. We think the scholarship could be a key to attracting and keeping young model railroaders interested because it would be a way to help fund their education. And I may be wrong about that, but I really think that this could be a way to help get some younger blood in the hobby.
Yeah, I hope we can get younger blood. Phil and I and members have been doing a lot towards recruitment. And at the last GTE show, I recruited a high school kid. He doesn't live in our division. He lives in a Redwood division, which is north of here. But he's one we could talk to.
Well, I didn't know until Phil told me today. Your region is the first region that was established by the NMRA.
Yes.
And it's interesting to me that was the case because you're the first region that has stepped up to helping develop our scholarship program. And we would hope that now your region has seen the value in working with us and helping us develop this scholarship effort. We would hope that other regions and divisions might also want to participate. And anything that you all might be able to do to encourage that would certainly be appreciated because we think that there's a lot of potential to attract young people to the NMRA. But I think with as you say, not just our hobby, but with a lot of organizations, even within our hobby, they all seem to be struggling with the question, how do we attract young people to the hobby? And I think one way that we might all be able to get together and work together toward that goal is by offering them scholarships and talking to them about their education, how important it is, and the role that model railroading could maybe play in the future in helping them get their education.
Yeah. You might want to talk to and have a display at the National in Long Beach. Pat, who's that region. That region was part of the PCR till maybe 20 years ago, and they split off. Sort of hard to do conventions in Northern and Southern California. You'd alternate.
Right.
Sort of a long distance. So even when we have some in our region, if we go to Bakersfield, from north from some of the people, it's like an 8-hour drive. So that's tough.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And you know, we participated. Phil did a clinic for us at the last convention in Texas. We had our banner and so forth out there. And we asked the board of the NMRA at that convention if they could see their way clear to maybe encourage our scholarship. But Gordon said the board had too many other things on their agenda and just couldn't work us in for that. So we're hopeful that maybe the NMRA's meeting in Amherst earlier next year, maybe they'll have the time to consider our scholarship program for the NMRA and encourage other members of the NMRA to participate. That's, you know, we're not asking National for money. We're just asking them to support the scholarship and encourage their members' participation. That's what we're really interested in. But Frank, I can't thank you enough again for your region to take the leadership in this. I mean, I can't tell you what it means for the kids and what it meant for us. It's really a shot in the arm.
Well, glad to help.
Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
Frank, let me ask you this. We're both MMRs. I have never met an MMR in my life that didn't either have a funny story, a sad story, or some ridiculous story to tell about their journey to get an MMR. So I'll share mine if you'll share yours.
Sure. I can start. Well, I started the journey a lot of years ago, and then sort of got more involved with the music and kids. And then at an O-Scale West convention, which is held in Santa Clara, which is about 30 miles from my house, I had an open house. And Bob Brown of the Gazette and Charlie Getz came over, and I already had, I think, 3 or 4 of the achievement awards. And Bob talked to me. He said, "You know, you've met all the requirements just by the layout you built." And he says, "You should go for it." He really encouraged me. And I pretty much met all of them except I do logging. And, you know, there's a requirement on the track that you have can turn the engines around. Well, on the logging railroads, they rarely turned them around. So he goes, "Well, just buy a Atlas turntable, HO turntable, and do a little display, and doesn't have to be on your layout." So I did that, and that turntable has been loaned to half a dozen other people. I don't know who has it now, because, you know, another friend went for model railroader was doing the belt line. They didn't have a turntable, you know, and so that's sort of my funny story on it.
Well, my story, some of it was funny. It wasn't funny to me at the time, I'll tell you that. But I had been a Lionel operator and collector and lived in Virginia, and my basement was full. I had around the walls, a total basement, except for small areas that my wife used. But the rest of the basement was just full of Lionel trains. I didn't have any accessories. I had some, but not many. But Lionel trains, they were all over. And a friend of mine called me up and said, "Listen, there's this train show over here. Why don't we go?" I said, "Okay." And outside the front, as you entered, there was this table with all of these bulletins. I didn't even know what a bulletin was, but it had NMRA on top of it and bulletin, and there was a sign that said, "If you're not an NMRA member, take one free." And I thought, well, hey, that's not a bad deal. So I took one of each that was there and ended up with 7, 8 different bulletins. And so I put them in my sack and went about the show and bought whatever I was going to buy and went home. And I started reading these bulletins. And in one of them, I read that they had a master model railroad. And I figured, well, geez, I've been a Lionel railroader all my life. You know, how hard can it be to be a master model railroader? I probably qualify already. I'll just call this guy up and he can come over and approve me, and I'll just put that plaque on my wall. So 3 guys come to my house, and I had been building models for some time, and I had found an article, I think it was in Craftsman at that point, about building a flat car. So I built from scratch 3 flat cars, put Lionel trucks and couplers on them, and ran them on my trains. I thought, that's great. I'm a car builder. So they came over to my house and they started looking around and so forth, and started giggling and laughing, and they were having a ball. They liked to see the trains run. So we were talking for a while, and I said, well, listen, I need to get these cars judged at least while you guys are here. I said, what do you think of my 3 flat cars? They're scratch built. And so they looked at them, and one of the guys, he didn't laugh. It was kind of a giggle, but I heard it. And the other guy, who was the chairman of the group, said, well, we don't judge flat cars. The achievement program doesn't consider a flat car eligible because it's not difficult enough of a model to build. Now, if you want to have a merit award on a car, you need to build a tank car or, a hopper car, maybe a cattle car. You need to build something, a passenger car. You need to build something that has some difficulty, but a flat car just doesn't qualify. And I said, okay. So one of the guys was looking at my layout, and he said, well, we might give him some credit for the layout. It looks like he's got ballast here. And I looked at him dead in the eye, and I said, if you're seeing ballast, I call it dust, because I haven't done anything but on that track except run my trains. So if you think it's ballast, I'm all for you. And so they left. And that was my first experience with the achievement program. And it almost turned me off to a point where I said, I'll just give up. I can never do it, But I took the other attack and said, I'm going to achieve this. I am going to get an MMR. And I finally did it a little later. But that was my first involvement with the achievement program. I never will forget that. And that's my story. Like I say, it's funny to some people. It wasn't funny to me at the time. But now it's kind of a funny story.
Well, it's interesting you say flat car. I got a flat car I got 91 points on because I did all the brake rigging. Everything was on it. It was more detailed than most people do with other cars. Now, that being said, I couldn't run it. It was too fragile. It couldn't make the curves on my layout, which are 36 inches for ON3, which is a little sharp,
right?
Because it was just too much under the body. But,
what's funny is your number is 600 and something, right?
No, I'm 514.
514. I'm 202. So between 202 and 514, there is a world of difference now in the achievement program, I can assure you, because now people are building flat cars or recommending building flat cars as the first car you build, because if you can build a flat car with the underbody detail and so forth, you can build any car, because the rest of the cars are nothing more than a flat car with a house on it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they need to update some of the like electrical
Yeah.
needs changed. It's back in 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Electrical needs to be, there's 3 or 4 of them that need to be updated. And hopefully they do that before too long.
But at the same time, I laugh and joke about the achievement program. In my opinion, the achievement program is the finest educational program a model railroader can ever have. You will learn more being a part of the achievement program than you'll learn more from any other place in the model railroading community, in my opinion. I think it's a fantastic program. Frank, thanks again. Thank you, board. Thank you, members. We look forward to working with you guys very, very closely throughout this process. And we can't thank you enough for your help.
Thank you.
Bob, I shall turn it back to you, sir.
Well, as I said, just stay tuned because next week I'll be back and we will be laying out our plan for next year. So as I said, please continue to think about making a donation, but just as important, please talk to some of the younger folks out there, people you know who have kids. As Jim said, I know personally, I modeled as a young man, and as soon as I went to college, I gave it up, and it took me a while to get back into it. So I think one of the real benefits of this is to show these young people that this is something you can do while you're in college. This is something that will not just give you a emotional and educational benefit, but it'll help you in your life. It'll help you mature as a person. So please keep that in mind, and we'll see you next week again. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir. Well, now, before we close this show out, I'd like to go over a recap for New Tracks Modeling of what this year to me has been about and where we're going next year. So if you'll bear with me a few more minutes. This has really been a successful year for us. There's no question about it. And all the success is really not due to me. It's due to everybody that has been a part of the show. The people who produce the shows. I don't produce them. I don't even have a computer. Phil at home never lets me forget that. He always keeps saying, you got to buy a computer. You got to buy a computer. So all I have is this little thing that one person said that I have the best known forehead in model railroading. I don't know why he said that. I try to keep myself in the middle of the picture, but he said that to me, and I'm sorry about that. But the volunteers that make this show possible, that produce the show, that do the website, that do the myriad of jobs, too numerous to mention, that allow this show to be produced each week, and to be able to have the volunteers that come on the show to show you the modeling skills that they have and to try to pass those skills on as a mentor to other modelers who watch the show. I also owe a real debt to Dan Dowdy and his wife, Amy. They've supported my articles that started New Tracks Modeling over 7 years ago now in both of their magazines. And they supported the shows that have gone on now for more than 4 years. You can believe that, once a week, sometimes twice a week. And I can't thank them enough for all of their support and encouragement. We are getting more viewerships. Our website subscribers now are over 1,000. We send out 1,000 emails a week with the login for the Zoom part of our shows. And telling people who's going to be on them and what we're going to be talking about. We normally have somewhere between 700 and 800 modelers view some portion of each one of our weekly shows. That's an increase, and I'm very happy that that's increasing like it is. We've got 1,700 subscribers, now over 1,700 now on our YouTube channel. So all of that says that, yes, we're increasing, more people are watching, more people are participating, and so forth. And so that I'm very encouraged by that, and thank everybody who watches for their interest, and hope that they'll keep their interest and want to participate more in showing us their skills and showing us what they're working on in their modeling. I've told you that I've started writing now a monthly column in our local newspaper. It's amazing to me because I think that's an avenue that our hobby has not dealt with. And I do think that there are people in that community that read the local newspapers that could be future model railroaders, but we're not reaching them through the normal model press publications. And going to our local newspapers, I believe, is a way of increasing the number of people that are knowledgeable about model railroading. I'm encouraged that my local newspaper encouraged me to write a monthly column on model railroading. I think other local papers would encourage other modelers to do it if the modelers would just step out and try. If I can help you in any way, just let me know. It's not that hard. The hardest part for me was trying to figure out who I'm talking to. because talking to a newspaper audience to me was totally different than anybody I've ever written articles for before. But it can be done, and it's not that hard once you've made a couple of mistakes and keep going. But I'm hearing back from people. I'm hearing back from model railroaders that aren't subscribing to the normal hobby press publications. And I'm reaching them through my local newspaper, not through any other avenue that I know about that we've tried before. So I mention that to you for your consideration, because I think that could be a help, both to getting the message out about New Tracks, certainly, but also about the scholarship program. I do think that you'll reach the parents and the grandparents better that way than any other way that I can think of to reach that audience about our scholarship program. And I think they may then encourage their grandchild or their son or daughter to participate in our scholarship program. And maybe they'll want to contribute money too. We started a monthly newsletter. We asked Martin Breckbiel, NMRA, if he'd edit it for us, and he kindly agreed to do it. He's a fantastic editor. He knows everything about how to publish and how to edit a newsletter. And he did a fantastic job in the first one that we put out December the 1st. I think it was 12 pages. January the 1st, he says now is 18 pages. And it's a newsletter. And it's done by the people who are watching the show. And it's done with articles that from those people and about what the show is offering for February and March and beyond. So we hope that that's a real asset to the people who are interested in New Tracks modeling shows. And if you're interested in writing and participating, just send your information to Martin and he'll make sure it gets in the publication. The scholarship program. Boy, that's something that was a real gamble. I can tell you the reason I don't think anybody else has done it. It's not that easy, but it is possible. And you have demonstrated through your support and through your donations that it is possible. And for that, I will be ever, ever humble and grateful. We really do appreciate all the support we've had for that. Bob Davidson, the chairman of the committee, and each member of his committee, can't give them enough credit for the effort and hard work and the frustration that we've all had from time to time. But thanks to organizations like the PCR and individuals that we've indicated tonight, and companies that gave us the amounts to become brass donors, that just shows that the community of model railroaders support the youth of our hobby and want to encourage them to keep becoming model railroaders and help fund their education if at all possible. So thank you so much for helping make that the tremendous success that we all believe that it is. We started a specific program for each individual scale: G, O scale, O high rail, S, HO, and N. We've got a sponsor for each one of them to help defer again the out-of-pocket cost. And we've got a well-known host for each one of them in his particular scale. We really want to expand that, but it's going to depend on whether you want it expanded or not. If you start participating, asking questions, telling the host what you'd like to see on their particular segment of the shows, that's the kind of input and support that we're looking for, and to know that you're really interested in it and would like to see it expanded. I think it's worth expanding. I think it's a great segment. I'm getting nothing but positive reactions from people about it. But I want to see more involvement and more interest shown by you, the viewer, in what the show should contain and how you feel about the person that's discussing the issues for your particular scale, and what other people in your scale you'd like to see included in that discussion. Our Zoom shows right now are booked totally through May, almost through June of next year. We've even started booking now for 2025, the early parts of 2025. I will not be surprised that within 2 months, we are booked for 2024 totally. So if you as an individual modeler, if you as a small manufacturer would like to be involved in our shows, would like to do one of the segments on our shows, would like to talk about what you're doing on our show, then let us know and we'll include you. But the longer you wait, the more difficult it's going to be to include you in one of the shows, because we try to limit the show to no more than 2 hours a night. And frankly, in some cases, we're having trouble doing that. So we hope that we can get everybody who wants to participate involved. But the sooner you let us know that you'd like to participate, the better it's going to be for everybody. So thanks again for all your help and support that we've received in 2023. Couldn't ask for any better. Wouldn't want to lose a single person or make any change to anything that's happened. So what are we going to do for next year? What are we planning for 2024? Give you some ideas. I talked to Sherry Johnson, who is the part owner of Cat's Paw. Sherry's going to start a segment on our shows, I think in June of next year, on technology, on new technology. And we're going to try to go and delve really deeply in various technologies that she has been using for years. She's a professional engineer. She's been that for 46 years. She's a manufacturer of model railroad equipment. And she's been in the hobby a long, long time. She's a lovely lady to talk with. And I think you're really going to enjoy her segments on technology. I am convinced that technology is one of the ways we are going to attract younger people into our hobby. But the problem is that the people in the hobby, us old guys, aren't really that familiar with a lot of the technology and don't talk about it the same as the younger people do. So what I'm trying to do is introduce technology in our shows in such a way that hopefully some of us older people can benefit from that technology and use it, but we can also encourage the younger generation to understand that, yes, we are interested in technology and we need your help in understanding it and having it benefit model railroading. And that's what these segments are designed for. We're looking into a new effort with the Boys and Girls Clubs around the country to try to offer them modeling for their kids that they have come to their facility after school. I went to the local person here in Citrus County, Florida. They operate 3 different facilities here for the Boys and Girls Clubs, and jumped at the chance of having modeling as part of their program for the kids that come to them for the after-school programs. They need help. They need modelers who can help the kids learn how to model. Building a model railroad that they can build completely, yeah, they'd love to do it. In some cases, it may be space that's needed, and how to do that and so forth. So they need not necessarily money as much as expertise. So if there's local clubs in your area, if there's a local organization, a division, whatever might be there that has that kind of expertise, if we can combine it with the Boys and Girls Club, then we are dealing with the younger people at a younger age than I'm aware of we've ever reached out to before, and trying to get them knowledgeable and involved in modeling and model railroading. So that's one of the projects that we're working on for 2024. We want to expand our My Bills. We want more people to participate. Eventually next year, we'd like to see a whole show once a month be nothing but My Bills, to have the people who are watching the show be able to come, tell us what you're working on, show us what you're working on. Tell us about the tips or the tricks that you use to hide your mistakes or to correct this problem or whatever. And just talk to us about the modeling that you're doing and show us the model that you're building. We have a tremendous amount of interest in the show part of Call My Build. And I'm hoping that you're going to want to participate more and more. And we're going to get more and more people who have not participated in the past to want to join in. So Chris and I have talked about it, and we're going to do everything we can to try to start expanding the My Bill on one show a month right now to eventually become and take over the whole show. So if you're interested in the My Bill segment, I hope that you'll join us, and I hope you'll show us some of your models. The build-along projects. The projects where we encourage a manufacturer to give a discount off the product that we're building on the show, where we have a very talented modeler build the model on the show. Manufacturer gives the modelers who want to build along with him a discount on the product. And we normally run those for 4 weeks or 5 weeks for 15 minutes at a time. Are we doing too many of them? Do you want more of them? What manufacturers would you like to have on? What models would you like to see done? What's your feeling? Do you want to see more of them, less of them, more specific to certain areas? Different scales than we've done before. If you'll just let us know what you're thinking and what you want, then that's what we'll try to provide. What about having a virtual trade show? I keep hearing problems about, well, I don't want to travel. I don't want to do this. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work for the manufacturer, particularly the small manufacturer, to pack up, load the car, travel, unload the car, pay for a hotel that's very, very pricey these days, pay for meals, all the rest of it, and then maybe break even and come home in frustration. And then I hear, well, maybe this manufacturer is not going to go to that show and so forth. And well, there weren't as many people there as I remember, so I'm not sure it's worth it. I hear an awful lot of give and take about the shows. I think the shows are very worthwhile. I really do. I think we ought to encourage them. I'd like to talk about them as much as we can on our show. The Great Train Show in Timonium has been one of the supporters of our show from day one. When I first started these Zoom shows, we did virtual train shows. That was back during when the pandemic just broke out. And a lot of us, my age and a little younger maybe, but basically older people, we were scared to leave the house because if we got COVID, we were going to die. That's what we believed at that point. And we weren't doing train shows. Hell, nobody would come. And if we had one and COVID broke out during that train shows, oh my gosh, that train show would maybe never exist again. So we said, okay, we'll offer these train shows virtual. And we did. They normally last 3 to 4 hours a day on a Saturday afternoon. We charge $10 for 5 minutes for each one of the small manufacturers that wanted to be on the show. And that covered the out-of-pocket cost, frankly, at one point for running the shows that we were doing on YouTube. And part of the reason why we had to increase the cost of YouTube to pay for the extra people that started coming to our show. Well, why did that happen? Because they were seeing manufacturers that they had never heard about before. And I started getting email after email after email saying, thank you for introducing us to these manufacturers. Well, that may be the case still today, because the small manufacturer may be going to a local kind of a train show situation, but not a broader, across the United States kind of exposure. And that's what the virtual shows were giving the small manufacturers. And we weren't making any money off of it. Nobody was paid anything to do it. We did it because we thought it was needed by the hobby. And we thought it might encourage more people building models than were doing it right then. So what do you think? Should we start those again? Are the small manufacturers interested in us starting those again? You interested in going to them again? I mean, we did 4 when we first started the shows way back. And I think by the 3rd one, we were getting over 1,000 views per show. So I know that they were well attended. I know that they were well received. And I know that a lot of people found out about small manufacturers that they'd never heard of before. Now, is that a value? You tell me. I mean, we're not looking for just starting projects for the sake of starting projects here. We're trying to do things that may help the modelers build more models and manufacturers be more successful. Small manufacturers are the heart and soul, in my opinion, of our hobby. And if we can do something to help them, I'd like to see us try. So you tell me, should we be doing this? Should we be considering it? Or is it an idea to forget about? We need volunteers. Volunteers help run these shows, make these shows all possible. Right now, we need 4 volunteers, 4 specific functions that we need help on. We have got a lot of things that we're thinking about. We've got a lot of things that we're doing. You add the scholarship program, everything else that we're involved in, we don't want to drop any balls. So we need somebody to help us not drop any balls. I don't know what you call that person. I don't know what skills that person has. I just need to know, we just need to know that somebody's looking over our shoulder and making sure that we're not, because we're old, forgetting what we're supposed to be doing tomorrow, and we're not dropping any balls for the show. So if you're interested in that kind of position, let me know. Second position, I have 2 sites on Facebook, Jim Kellow and Jim Kellow MMR. I have 5,000 friends. That's the most that you can have on the Jim Kellow site. I have 3,700 and some odd on the other site as followers. And I'm told, well, you're wasting your time on Facebook because a lot of modelers and model railroaders aren't interested in Facebook anymore. Well, I religiously post on Facebook once a week what the shows for next week are going to be and so forth. But I'm told we need something on I/O. And I don't know anything about I/O. So we need somebody to help us establish a presence for New Tracks modeling on I/O. We've got all kinds of information that we can give to publish on I/O. And if that's where the model railroaders are, then that's where we need to be. So we need a volunteer to help us get there. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Third thing, I got a great project in mind. I mean, this is, I've shared it with only one other person. And if I can pull this off, I think it'll really be something special for the hobby. I really do. I firmly am convinced of that, and something that the model press has never touched. No one's ever done this before, not even thought about this before. Has nothing to do with newspapers, has nothing to do with print. This is a great idea. So if you're interested in helping me put that together, if I can put it together, I need your help. That's all I can tell you right now. If you're interested in helping me, I'll share what the idea is and give you all the information I have at this point. But I need your help in making this happen, if we can make it happen. Kind of like the scholarship, if we can make it happen. We have. I think we can make this idea happen too, but we need help to do it. Number 4, you saw the great Christmas present that Pat Rivard sent me of this shirt that says New Tracks Modeling on it. Yep, I want to have a series of products with New Tracks Modeling on them that we can sell so that we don't have to ask for donations other than for our scholarship, and we can cover the total out-of-pocket cost for New Tracks Modeling by the sale of products. But I need somebody to help do that. So that's the 4th volunteer that we need. So number 1, somebody that keeps the balls in the air. Number 2 is somebody that can help us establish an I/O presence. And number 3 is to help me get the greatest project I've ever come up with off the ground. And number 4 is to help us get our project off the ground, selling shirts, coffee mugs, whatever. And that I think we can do. But we need those 4 volunteers to help us with those 4 projects. So if you're interested, please let me know. Even if you're not interested, but you're not building anything and you're just sitting in a chair because you feel old, let me know and let's talk about it. You may be surprised at how interested you'll get in the projects. So what else do you want New Tracks to do next year in 2024? Whatever you want, we'll try. No question. I'll throw anything against the wall and see if it sticks. But we need to know what you want. After all, we want this show to be successful. And for this show to be successful, it's got to provide you the information and how you want that information provided. So whatever we can do to make that happen, that's what we're interested in doing it. But we need your input in order to make those decisions. So please let me know. My email is jimkellow@newtracksmodeling.com, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Well, folks, that's it for tonight's show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Most importantly, I hope you've learned something. And most importantly, after that is I hope you'll come back next week and see us again. So Phil, if we could run our caboose.
I'll just crush you with this engine.
All right, you're on it. What's the point probe next? And again. Steady, steady, she gotta get away from us. It's gonna move in. Yeah, here, move in.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hope you had a great time. Happy New Year to everybody. See you